All right, I think we're live. Let me quickly send everywhere that we're live, and then we're going to get right into it. Talking about the markets, what to expect for today. We'll take a look at Bitcoin. We'll take a look at majors. We'll take a look at whatever you all want to look at. What I just wanted to do in this video mainly is just go over my trading routine, right? And if there's questions, then of course let me know. But that's what we'll just do mainly, all right? So that people can also watch it a little bit later, and still see some value because of that. And then yeah, that's what we're going to do. So let's get right into it. Let me first quickly send everywhere that we are live, to get everybody in here, if they want to, of course. I mean, it's not necessary, but still. So let me quickly do that right here, and also on Twitter. Yeah, all right, that's it. Yeah, so let's get right into it. So I'm not sure how many people are in the stream right now, but welcome everybody. I hope you're all doing great, of course. So like I said, I mean, I just wanted to go over the markets right now. Markets look quite good for today. Later today we have the testimony by Jerome Powell, and obviously there's quite a lot of news, quite a lot of data coming in throughout the day. Just 30 minutes ago, we heard that that a northern city in Iran was being attacked by Israel. Israel attacked, so they breached the ceasefire. Trump and Zelensky are set to meet at the NATO summit. Netanyahu told Trump that he could not cancel the attack. So I mean, there's there's a lot going on, of course. But so far, I mean, the markets are holding up relatively well. If you take a look at the S&P 500 pre-market, it doesn't really care about what has happened, as you can see. That's still relatively strong right here. And also, if you take a look at oil prices, those are pulling back here. Probably because it doesn't seem like Iran is going to attack Israel back. So that's good news, but obviously it's still quite uncertain. The volatility index is down about 8%. That's also decreasing. Gold is crashing. So the fundamentals at this point of time look bullish for crypto, right? And the technicals for at least Bitcoin are very good as well. We have left some imbalances right here, but we have also broken above crucial support levels right here at 102.3, 102.5, and then also 103.5. So we have a lot of support. Now, what is going to happen is the following, and that is that the S&P 500 is going to open higher. So that means that it opens with a gap, and it's quite likely that that gap is going to fill to the downside, right? So what that usually does to, so then equities pull down, the stock market pulls down, and Bitcoin is very correlated to the stock market. So then Bitcoin can also pull down. So that's the ideal moment in which we can pull into this. And fill this imbalance. So that's the main move I'm watching for today, and then obviously the fundamentals and the news can basically change everything. But yeah. So what's up, Hatim? Welcome to the stream. Bujawe, what's up? How are you doing? Grass bullish. You mean grass, right? Psycho Gaming. And Zaid, I would say we are bullish. If we're just going off of Bitcoin here. We are bullish. If we talk about altcoins a little bit more, so if we take a look at the total 3, or if we take a look at others, then the story gets a little bit more complicated. And especially on the short term, so let's say the next couple of hours, I would say it's more likely to get a bit of a pullback instead of a continuation. And then from the reaction, or from after the pullback, the strength of the reaction then. So let's say, for example, we're looking at others right now. So this is the total market cap for altcoins. If we get a strong reaction here, like a spike down and instantly bought back up, then I would expect more recovery and more stability and more bullish momentum. But if we get a weak reaction, so if we just start to slowly drop down right here, then I just expect stability down here, and further recovery then is going to be very, very difficult. Evie, welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Zaid, it's complicated. It's look, the war is going on. Who knows at this point of time? I actually do think that the ceasefire will hold, even though both parties, it seems like, have breached it. I still think that the ceasefire ultimately will go on. And the most important part of the war was not necessarily Iran and Israel. It was whether the United States was going to join or not. And it seems very much like the United States joined, but is out now, and they reached their goals. Which means that if the United States is out, I mean, then all of a sudden, we're just going back to Israel and Iran just firing missiles at each other, which also happened, for example, last year. Can I find it? Last year April, right? So that was right here, and there we did drop down, but afterwards we also recovered. So it is entirely possible that the war goes on, at least for now, even though that seems unlikely, like I said. But that the market actually is not going to be bearish. War is not necessarily bearish for all markets. It depends on the extent of the war. It depends on the escalation and in the war, etc. Jasmine is pumping Bobby, well, a little bit. It was this morning, but it's right now it's actually not pumping. It's underperforming the markets. But it went up a lot. But it's also like same with a lot of altcoins. So this is not only true for Jasmine, but it's true for, well, most of the altcoins I've seen this morning. Is we left these imbalances to the downside, right? So if we zoom into Jasmine right here, if we take a look at the TPO. What you can see is that, yes, we had a very strong move up, and we actually had some strong volume come in as well. But there is a very large amount of single prints here. So we have so many imbalances here to the downside that it seems unlikely that we're not going to fill quite a lot of them before potentially getting another move up. So very interesting. It could be like at some point of time we are going to bounce from one of those imbalances. But which one of those imbalances is going to hold and is going to provide a bounce? It's quite difficult. So if you're very experienced with analyzing and trading Jasmine, there's definitely money on the table there. But it's a bit of a tricky environment, I'd say, to trade. SPL, by the way, we're covering Litecoin in a moment. I saw the comment. First going over all the comments right here. Let's see, Psycho Gaming. Any news today? Yeah, I read the news at the start. We have Jerome Powell's testimony later today. That's at 4 p.m. UTC plus 2, right? So that's in 1.5 hours approximately in your time zone. That's going to matter, right? The Federal Reserve interest rates policy and the monetary policy in general is going to matter a lot, and that's what he's going to be, testifying for, basically. That's a very easy interpretation of what's going to happen, but that's essentially it. And Mohammed, levels to watch for Bitcoin, most important is between 103.5 and 102.5. That has to hold. As long as that holds, which I do expect, I think we can rally into 107 and 108. If we fail to hold that, that's bad news, and then we're most likely going to drop down lower, which is bad. Could be very bad even, but that remains to be seen. But Litecoin, look, Litecoin, I think Litecoin fundamentally is quite interesting. With the ETF potentially coming up, and we also got a nice bottom right here. But for me, especially if you zoom in, like Litecoin is just incredibly stable. So if you take a look at this stability historically, the main level that has always held when Litecoin is consolidating in the area which it is consolidating in right now, is lower than the spike that we had right now. So Litecoin fundamentally very interesting, but technically I would prefer to wait for 75 and 72.5 to hit. I think that's a good buy area. That also was a good buy area in the middle of April. And then from there we'll see. And I do think that level is going to hold unless we get nuclear warfare or something like that. But I do think that's going to hold. But at this point of time, I'm just not that interested in Litecoin because like I said, we had a nice spike down right here, but it doesn't have that much momentum for me to say that we're already going to move into that next resistance level right here around $100. So those are my thoughts on Litecoin. But like I said, fundamentally it's quite interesting. Zaid, taking trades right now is fine, but it depends on the idea, of course. I mean, you can basically take a trade 24/7 every day of the year, but you have to have a good idea. And at certain points of time, it's easier to have a good idea about the markets than others. And at certain points of time, there's more stability than others. And at this point of time, I would say the stability fundamentally is not great, but I think that technically, if you look at all the price action that we have seen over the last couple of weeks, technically the prices are actually respecting ranges quite well, right? So taking a more of a trending approach to trading, I'm not sure if that's the best idea. I mean, summers in general are not ideal for these for trending trades, right? I mean, I've made a video, or at least I've covered in videos, that most of the summers in the last 2-3 years have been flat, right? So basically there's these mini trends on the 1 hour and the 4 hour time frame where the price actually does trend up and down, but on the higher time frames we tend to just bounce back and forth between resistance and support. So can you take trades? Yes, definitely. And personally, I have trades open, I have limit orders open, but it depends on the idea. It depends on what type of trade it is, and it depends on the full setup. But trading is fine, I think. And yeah, Sturdy Sei is doing incredibly well. It's there was already, I tweeted about Sei at the bottom, or not the bottom, but I tweeted about Sei right here at 18.5 and 19 cents, and it's a shame that I did not buy, but it's been incredibly strong. But same thing as I also said for Jasmine. Sei has also left some major imbalances right here to the downside. So even though it looks great right now and volume like this, you don't see very often. Taking a trade on it is quite tricky, I'd say. But it is outperforming Sui, and there might also, I thought about it this morning. Sui has been one of the strongest cryptos that has launched in 2023, right? Did incredibly well after the summer of 2024. But it could be that we see some sort of a shift, and Sei is actually doing quite well fundamentally. I mean, if you take a look at the fundamentals for Sei, if you take a look at the TVL, you can see that the growth has been pretty good. And then if you take a look at the growth for Sui, it hasn't been bad, but it has stalled, right? And Sui never got above the TVL it had at the beginning of January. Well, if you take a look at Sei, I mean, it broke above that easily. We're up about 150% in TVL compared to the beginning of January. So who knows? Maybe this could be the start of a massive rally. I don't know, but what I do know is that it's quite tricky to get in, given these imbalances. But I'm very much looking at entering a trade on Sei. Just not certain yet where and what's the best idea. So yeah, but XRP, I saw some people talking about XRP. Zaid, you talked about XRP. Adam, welcome to the stream. Yeah, let's talk about XRP real quick, and we'll talk about Uniswap as well. One Meister, welcome to the stream, by the way. Which is it's yeah, I mean, Uniswap has been doing quite well as well. It pulled back more than I expected over the course of the weekend, but obviously fundamentals come into play. And then the price acts a little bit different than what you can predict. And there are certain coins that have quite a lot of leverage in the price, and there are certain coins that have less leverage in the price. Uniswap, I think, had quite a lot of leverage in the price, so that's why it pulled back a little bit lower. But it's reclaiming a crucial level right here, right? I mean, Uniswap has basically, it had this balance right here, which was bouncing in between. Then we broke out. It looked like a real breakout because we were holding the breakout a fair bit right here, but now we've just dropped back down into that same balance, right? So the main level to watch again is going to be this level right here at $7. Breakout above that with volume, and then I can be very bullish about Uniswap again. For now, I'd say, since we are respecting that resistance, I would say a pullback is more likely, and stability seems more likely. So with stability, I mean something like this. that seems more likely than to expect a general continuation already, even though a continuation from that balance down here is what I do expect. But you have to be patient, and you cannot rush things like that. Brian, you're absolutely right. Hit it right now. So just wanted to cover Uniswap right here. Let's talk about XRP a little bit, and then we'll talk about Aerodrome, because BL, I did see your message, and Aerodrome is also on my watch list, as you can see right here. But just to cover real quick, would it do well in a bull market? I think so, yes. But the question, it's not necessarily, look, a bull market. What does a bull market look like? Right, because a bull market as we had in 2017 going into 18 a little bit, or a bull market that we had in 2020, 2021, I don't think we're going to have that again. But regardless of that, I think Aero can do very well. Coinbase stock is doing very well. Aerodrome's emissions, so basically the tokens that are created and brought into circulation, that's decreasing, right? That's ramping down. Where first the inflation was very, very high. Right now it's slowly becoming less. So that's great, because then it becomes a little bit more attractive for whales to get into Aero. You can get yield on your Aero tokens. So do I think it's a great buy in the bull market? Yes, I do think so. Do I think it's a great buy right now? Yes. However, I would be very, I mean personally, I'm being quite greedy with where I enter, and at this point of time, I think an entry is a little bit too high, or not confirmed enough. All right, XRP, because I said it much too early, or I said it much earlier that we would speak about XRP. By the way, I mean I cover XRP every morning, right? So if you're interested in XRP updates, then I would strongly consider checking out the channel. But no, XRP right here. Levels to watch we'll cover, and then we'll also talk about what happened yesterday. I mean, the price action yesterday was just in relation to the markets, right? I mean, we saw that XRP reached the bottom areas of the major range which it is in. So this is basically the range that XRP has been in since the beginning of December. It's a little bit tighter than that. It's this. And then every time when there was bad news, we tested the bottom of the range. That's exactly what we did yesterday. There was bad news, but the news did not become worse. The news did not escalate. So we hit the bottom of the range. And since then, the fundamentals, the news became better. We had de-escalation. So that caused XRP to shoot back up into value, into balance, right? The balance that we had before the news kicked in kind of, the 13th of June, but the new news kicked in right here. So then the prices started to become imbalanced, but the balance we had before was right here, right? So here was balance. We got bad news. It got de-escalated. We get back into balance, right? So that's basically what happened with XRP. And then when we're talking about critical levels for XRP at this point of time, it's the edges of the balance. It's the edges of the range. So the most important level for XRP right now is this level right here between 2.1 and 2.07, because that's not only the bottom of the range of this balance, but no, that's also the bottom of the balance of this balance. And it might not look balanced, but that is balance. So that's the most crucial level right now. That's also an area where, a little bit of a sneak peek into what I think about during trading. That's also an area where I would consider taking a trade right here on XRP. And if we take a look at the TPO right here, if I can, what you can see is that we also have some imbalances down there, right? So towards 2.1. But we also have a fair value gap at 2.07, so that looks interesting as an area. So I'll set an alert as well. But so that looks quite interesting to hold. But that's also the area that we need to hold, right? Because if XRP drops down below 2.08 again, then we can drop down much lower, and that would be that could at least be pretty disastrous. But I would say the only reason why XRP could drop down below that level is if we get some bad news, right? So if we get bad news, we can do something like this regardless. So that's something to keep in mind. But for now, that's the most important level, and I would say it's most likely that we are going to hold that. Taxomniac, my apologies for the ad. I mean, I cannot stop it, unfortunately. But for me, the most interesting most interesting area for XRP to take a trade would be this area right here between 2.1 and 2.07. It's a very important technical support level. You have a lot of confluences there. That looks interesting. But then we do have to pull back into that, and whether we will be able to do something like that, it remains the question. I mean, the market bounce after the de-escalation yesterday actually was quite good. So who knows? Maybe we won't even pull back that far. Quite a lot of people talking about Ondo as well. Ondo is doing Ondo recovered very, very well, right? I mean, I lost some money on the Ondo, but Ondo has recovered 75 cents. It just needs to hold that. But the thing is that I'm not certain at this point of time I want to buy Ondo. I think there's other coins that are more interesting, right? I mean, if you take a look at volume, for example, a coin like Sei, but also the majors, so Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, a coin like Hyperliquid, in my opinion, that's more interesting right now than to buy Ondo. And even if we're talking about some other coins that are lesser known, I would say that's more interesting. I mean, Ondo had a good recovery, but the volume is quite low, the hourly volume, and volume is usually what I try to gravitate towards in my trading. So that's also why I try to trade the majors mostly. Pablo, welcome to the stream. XCN, Onyx coin, I haven't seen that. By the way, for everybody that's joining the stream, first of all, welcome to the stream, of course. But second of all, we have some important data today, right? So we have the testimony by Jerome Powell, and it's good that you know that, right? That matters a lot. That matters a lot for the U.S. monetary policy. So just a bit of a reminder for everybody that has joined a little bit later. Keep your eyes on that, all right? I'll post a link to where you can find this in a moment, or right now. But keep your eyes on that. That's not only important, but that has a major opportunity to see some market movements as well. But Onyx, look, Onyx is, in my opinion, it's still bearish. For me, the main level to look at is this level right here at 1.5 cents. If we're able to break above that, with strength, then maybe Onyx or XCN becomes a little bit more interesting. And it's definitely possible that we do break above that. I mean, you can see that there's quite a lot of volume coming into XCN right here. So it is possible that this this ranging right here, that it breaks out, but it's not strong enough, or there's not enough momentum yet, I would say, to buy before the breakout, right? So wait for the breakout, keep your eyes on that. It looks quite interesting. But at this point of time, it's just within the range. So nothing, I would say nothing actionable yet on it. Movement Network. Look, Movement Network, a couple of people are asking about that. It's a bit of a scam project. All right, so I don't like to look at this. I saw this yesterday, and I saw this this huge volume it had. Something is cooking here, and it might be interesting to buy into this. But since the project is that shady and, you know, dare I say, scammy, I would only enter if we get a deep pullback into 13.5 cents, right? So that is the main level that we reclaimed. That was support right here. Broke down below that, and then we reclaimed it. The only reason, or the only area where I would enter is right there, right? Otherwise, I'm just trading other things, and I'm just forgetting about this, because it's, well, I mean, the project started out as quite an interesting project, but everything they've done since then, with the airdrop, but also with World Liberty Financial buying their tokens, but they just, you know, they basically just paid money for World Liberty Financial to buy their tokens. That's not great, right? I don't like that. I think that's shady behavior, and more shady things have happened with Move. So yeah, Navid Khan, Cookie DAO. I don't know. It's if you want to buy Cookie DAO, I think it should be a fundamental buy, and I don't know enough about Cookie DAO or the current fundamentals of it, how much it's being used, how much is being invested, etc. For me to tell you that that we're going up or down. So I'm sorry, but I don't know. Bitcoin up or down? My thoughts on Bitcoin is basically, if the fundamentals stay the same, basically this. Right? So a touch right here into 104, 103, and then a continuation up to 107, 108. But that is dependent on no further escalation in the Middle East, and that is dependent on no other bearish fundamentals to spring up, right? But that's I think that's logical, of course. But still, it matters. Kavad, about Kaspa, it's I looked at this earlier. Can I find it real quick? Yeah, so I looked at this earlier. I think it looks quite interesting because it's at the bottom of the range as well, and the volume is quite high. But the weakness we've seen since the end of May kind of deters me from doing anything in this, right? So I do think ultimately that this is the bottom for Kaspa, or at least I think that's most likely. But I think it's too risky for me at least. Compared to the other opportunities that are out there to start buying Kaspa. And I think fundamentally, you know, the Kaspa community always says, you know, the fundamentals are good, it's a solid project. And I agree with that. The technological framework and the technicals around it are great, but ultimately the most important thing in crypto is attention and usage. Right, and Kaspa doesn't really have that attention and usage which it needs, I think, to actually have some sustained, strong, bullish price action. Right, so that deters me a little bit as well. Let's see. The best entry for Say. Look, we spoke about this in a moment. I'm looking for an entry, but if we look at Say, this is Sonic, my apologies. If we look at Say, look, we have a lot of imbalances here to the downside. On the higher time frames, there's imbalances there as well. The main area where I would be looking at, if we also grab the balance, which it has been arguably in, the main area where I would be looking at is either for a risky buy at 24 cents, but that is a risky buy, or for a less risky buy, a spike down much lower into 23, 21 cents. But these are not limit orders I've set, right? And I think ultimately the price action for Say has been incredibly shady as well. You can see the leverage coming into the price right here. This is going to have liquidation pullbacks, right? So if you want to trade this, you know, be my guest, because it has a lot of volume, but I would be very, very careful with how you proceed with Say, right? And like I said, I mean, you could either go for a very risky buy around 24 cents. Personally, I would go for the less risky buy, and that would be an entire fill of this imbalance right here towards 22.5 cents. I would say that's the sensible decision, but overall, I'm a little bit of a conservative trader sometimes, which is something you should know. EOF King. I looked at it this morning, home. Yeah, I saw it too. Here you can actually see I had a price alert on it go off. So I saw it, but I'm not sure what I thought anymore. Home is it? It didn't look good enough to buy. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So you can see that there's some elevated volume. There's a bullish divergence here as well, with the price making lower lows and the RSI making higher lows. There's some leverage coming in. There's some volume, and we broke above the 7-day rolling VWAP. So in that sense, I mean, this is interesting. But the price action I set this morning, so there was someone else, but the price action I set was around 0.0225. So if it breaks above that, if it hits that level, I'll look again. But I agree with you, it's interesting, but I don't think there's enough confirmation to really enter that yet. Martina, I did a full video on Sui this morning, so if you want my full thoughts on Sui, check out that video. But my brief thoughts on Sui are, well, this, right? I think short-term, well, no, it's a little bit more complicated. I think short-term pullback, continuation, pullback again, rejection, and then stability. That's what I think is most likely for Sui. But again, and I'm trying to kind of mix this in between between segments of the live stream. The fundamentals matter a lot, right? So the fundamentals very much determine what's going to happen with the price, not only for Bitcoin, but also for the majority of altcoins that are obviously also very correlated to Bitcoin. But we're going to have to end the stream, guys. I have to start preparing for some other videos today. So hopefully that helped. I tried to cover as much as I saw. I mean, I see I missed some things, and I'm very, very sorry for that. But it's quite hard to check out everything. But I still have a lot of videos on my YouTube channel as well, of course, that you can check out. I also have a second channel for those of you who don't know. If you go to YouTube and you type in Market Insights with Cilinix, you can actually get some videos as well on my thoughts regarding the general financial market. So Palantir, Apple, Nvidia, posting a Tesla updates on there today. But gold, also very interesting. I trade gold quite a lot. But that's it for now. All right, take care. Like I said, the US markets are opening in about 45 minutes. We have the testimony by Jerome Powell in about an hour and 12 minutes. So keep your eyes out for that, because that will matter. But that's it for now. So thank you for joining the stream. I'll see you all in my next videos. Like I said, there's a market update coming out in about an hour, I would say. So check that out if you're interested in that as well. But for now, thank you for watching. I'll see you all in my next video.